now we have Julie Ma, co-PI of Open OnDemand project, and Emily Moffat-Sadeghi, developer relations program manager, also for Open OnDemand project, who will talk about Open OnDemand, connecting computing power with powerful minds. This is a recorded session, and they will join us for the Q&A.
Hello, everyone. My name is Julie Ma, and I'm a program manager at the Massachusetts Green High Performance Computing Center, and I'm also a co-PI on the Open OnDemand project. Open OnDemand is a open source portal that provides web access to HPC resources, greatly simplifying access and onboarding for researchers. Open OnDemand was created at the Ohio Supercomputing Center and has been in existence for about 10 years and is funded primarily by the U.S. National Science Foundation. We're really excited to be here today, and thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to tell you a little bit about our platform. Today we'll have three presenters, myself, Hazel Randquist, and Emily Moffat-Sadeghi. We'll be talking about three things. First, I'll give a quick overview of the Open OnDemand platform and what its capabilities are. Then Hazel will give a dashboard walkthrough, so give a quick walkthrough of what the platform actually looks like. This is an excerpt from a larger tutorial that we have available online, and we invite everyone to go through that if you find Hazel's talk really interesting. And finally, Emily will be giving a presentation about how to engage with our project. As I mentioned, Open OnDemand is an open source portal that makes it possible to access your organization's supercomputing resources entirely from a web browser. And because of this, you can access your resources from anywhere and on any device. From a user point of view, that makes it really easy to reach an HPC resource. You don't have to think about schedulers or batch jobs. There's zero installation. You just run Open OnDemand from your browser, and it makes it incredibly easy to use. You can start computing immediately, and the Open OnDemand interface is very easy to learn and use, as you'll see later during Hazel's demonstration. And because it's a web platform, it's compatible with any device that has a browser, even a phone or a mobile phone or a tablet, which we will see in a moment. So this is a really fun video that we have that demonstrates exactly what I just described. And Open OnDemand can be used from your laptop, as one would expect, using a regular web browser. It can also be used from your phone, and it can also be used from a tablet. These are all kind of expected, but there's other places that you have a web browser. So for example, a gaming console. You can access Open OnDemand while you're playing games. You can also access it from, in this case, my colleague's Tesla. If you have a web browser on your Tesla, you can use Open OnDemand to check your jobs and even start jobs. And if you're really out there, you can use an Oculus, and you can do you can access your on-demand and your jobs from a virtual device. Through all of these mechanisms, these just give you an example of the flexibility that Open OnDemand provides for your users. Open OnDemand is also available from most of the major cloud providers, including AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. And you can request an on-demand instance directly from these providers. On the system admin side, it's really helpful to your users to install Open OnDemand. It provides a very low barrier to entry, as I described earlier, for your users. It's free and it's open source. And it's also very configurable and flexible. You can put your logo on the Open OnDemand instance. You can deploy the applications that are most suitable to your users' needs. And it allows you to administer remote access to the supercomputer, which then allows users much easier access to your HPC resources. Open OnDemand is deployed worldwide. We estimate right now we have about 1,600 organizations around the world in 95 countries that are using Open OnDemand. And this is just the logos that our users have kindly sent to us of places that Open OnDemand is installed. If you don't see your organization on these running lists, feel free to send us your logo, and we will be happy to add it. All of these are also accessible on our webpage, openondemand.org, on the org page. There's also a variety of utilities and applications that have been integrated with Open OnDemand. Not every installation of Open OnDemand has all of these utilities and apps. However, all of these utilities and apps are installed on the Ohio Supercomputer Center installation of Open OnDemand. So it's a place where we have the most apps available, and it's also proof of concept for people to see that these apps can all be used by researchers within Open OnDemand. And this list is always growing and expanding as different types of users are installing Open OnDemand. We have a variety of ways that we provide support to our community, and Emily will be talking more about this momentarily. First of all, we have a really robust Discourse site. Discourse is, for those of you that are not familiar, is a Q&A platform that is also open source and has our instance of Discourse has a variety of categories where you can get help and where you can post requests for feature enhancements or report on bugs. Emily will also be talking a little bit about how we're transitioning that operation. However, the Discourse site is an incredibly rich wealth of knowledge and expertise from the community that uses Open OnDemand. We also have a very active Slack space, and of course, we have GitHub documentation. And finally, to just get news out to our community in a regular cadence, we have a constant contact newsletter where you can just sign up and get a monthly newsletter to find out what's going on with Open OnDemand. All of these are described in a little bit more detail on our website at openondemand.org/support. We also have on our website a wealth of videos and publications from talks such as this and papers that we've submitted to conferences, as well as tutorials and webinars that have been created both from our own team as well as from the community. And if you have an interesting paper or a video that you want to share with the community, we are always happy to post more of these on this site. It's also on our website at openondemand.org/events. Finally, we have a number of community events, live events that happen every month. First of all, on the first Thursday of every month at 1 p.m. Eastern Time in the US, we have a Tips and Tricks call. On this call, it's actually hosted by the community, and we usually organize presentations from the community to talk about their application of Open OnDemand and to, as the title implies, give tips and tricks about the best way to configure the system for a particular situation. Our last talk was about a remote instrument control system that I'll be talking about in a few more minutes. It was very well received, and all of these are recorded and published on the website, on the webpage that I showed you a moment ago. We are actually planning to launch a tips and tricks call that is more conducive to European working hours later this year, and hope to see many of you there. We also have open office hours on the second Tuesday of every month from 11:15 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. Eastern Time. And there you can meet with our developers directly to, again, talk about any bugs that you need immediate help with or any feature requests that you'd like to tell us about. So these office hours are very freeform, and we really enjoy this opportunity to meet with the community and invite you all again to join us if you have any questions or any suggestions for us. So Open OnDemand has been available for a little over a decade. It was first introduced to the community at the Exceed conference in 2013. And so it's a very mature platform. It is still growing, both in terms of capabilities as well as in terms of the community that is using it. And we hope that it'll be around for another decade. If you'd like to read this paper, it is, of course, available from our site, and you can find it at openondemand.org/exceed13. Just a few examples that we talk about on our website, but that might be interesting to this community. First of all, CSE Finland, the service provider for the internet service provider for Finland, has Open OnDemand installed on all of their major platforms, the most recent being Lumi. And there's a whole case study about the Lumi installation at openondemand.org/Lumi. We also have a broad variety of institutions across around the world that are using Open OnDemand to support classroom computing. At Ohio Supercomputing, at Ohio State University, which is served by the Supercomputer Center, we've had hundreds of students and across a variety of classes and subject matter using the supercomputer to support their work. And it's really fascinating and exciting to see how students are readily accept the use of the supercomputer and are so excited to have that capability available to them from their classroom. As I mentioned earlier, the Ecosystem for Research Networking has developed an application that controls a remote instrument, in this case, a cryo-EM instrument, and has an entire workflow from the instrument, which is at a remote destination, and brings the measurements into their central computing and through to storage, and it's all controlled from a single pane of glass from Open OnDemand. This was talked about on our last tips and tricks call, and this paper is also available on our site. But it's just a great example of what Open OnDemand can enable for our community. So those were just a few examples how Open OnDemand is being used. There's many more case studies on our site. And of course, if you want to learn more about Open OnDemand, there's many ways that you can contribute to our project. One is just to spread the word by mentioning us on X or whatever social media platform that you use. You can make a suggestion either via GitHub or on our Discord site and engage with us in collaborating on different types of applications that you might want to integrate into the platform. You can write documentation, you can write code, and of course, if you want to, you can fund the project. And all of these are welcome ways for the community to contribute, and Emily will talk a little bit more in detail about each of these later in the talk. So with that quick overview, I'd like to turn it over to Hazel Randquist, who will give you an overview of our dashboard.
Gateways team at the Ohio Supercomputer Center. My background is primarily in Ruby on Rails development, and I've been on this team for 6 months. Open OnDemand is designed to make running large-scale jobs and connecting to supercomputing resources as accessible as possible. For this, we need to manage our file systems, run, manage, and debug batch jobs, work with interactive applications, and so on. Open OnDemand makes it easy to manage all of this in a browser, from script writing to running weather simulations without ever leaving OnDemand. The dashboard walkthrough will walk us through the 5 core features of OnDemand listed here, which together provide the accessibility that make Open OnDemand what it is. We are following along with one part in the University of Buffalo's HPC toolset tutorial. I will not be walking through how to install and start the containers provided by the tutorial, but know that if you visit it yourself, it does include a complete and working setup guide that will walk you through step-by-step how to get the same environment set up that I am using here, as well as in-depth explorations into in related topics such as XDMod and application development. We will be presenting a more complete version of this tutorial at PERC, and another great place to find in-depth information on setting up and working with Open OnDemand is our documentation. So now we're going to move to Open OnDemand, and this page here is the first screen that a user sees when they log in. This instance itself is instance that I have set up using the HPC toolset tutorial. So when you're on this page, there are a couple of things to note. It's the panels here. There are a few of them. This first panel, has been added by an administrator, so it's a custom panel. This second panel is recently used apps, which shows applications that have been run on the system most recently. There's the message of the day, which is provided by default in all Open OnDemand installations. It can be written in multiple different formats. The one presented here is in Markdown. These panels are XDMod notifications. XDMod OnDemand integrates with XDMod to show pertinent information about the jobs you've recently run. There's a complete guide to setting up XDMod in the HPC toolset tutorial, which I haven't done here, hence the errors. The next part of the Open OnDemand that we're going to look at is the files browser. This is one of the most vital parts of Open OnDemand. It allows us to browse through the directories of the system, find out the input for various jobs, find logging, etc. And even more powerfully than that, the files can be created, edited, saved, and destroyed right here in the browser. So when we first look at the files drop down in the navigation menu, you see the home directory and the OOD config directory. The home directory comes by default with every Open OnDemand installation, and the OOD config directory is an example of a favorites path that an administrator has added. That's a list that can be added to, and it'll show up here to be easily findable. When we click on to our home directory, we are brought to basically the same thing that you would see in your own file browser on your computer, where you've got all of the directories and files within the directories, and you've got a series of actions up here that you can take. So what we're going to do is create a new directory. We can navigate to that directory and create a new file within it. If we highlight this file, we can download it as well as delete it. And another cool thing about this browser is we can open the terminal to this directory in a new tab and have access to all of the files and be able to navigate through the system through the terminal. So next, I want to look a little bit more closely at the manipulation that you can do with a file here. So in this table, you can go to this tab it's an action tab, where you can click edit, and it will open the file in a new tab that shows this editor, where you can choose your key bindings if that's something that's relevant, choose which text highlighter you want to use. You can edit the file and save it by clicking this button. And then back here, you're also able to view these files without needing to edit them or worry about editing them at any point on accident. So the next feature we're going to look at is the job composer. This allows users to create jobs and schedule jobs from templates. The first thing you notice when you land on this page before any jobs have been run is this step-by-step guide that walks you through all of the buttons that are available to help interact with, run, and submit these jobs and manage them in general. So we're going to create a new job from a template. These templates can be provided by an administrator. When we create this job, we can see where the job and all of its scripts have been placed into our system. So meaning we could navigate to this file through the file browser if we needed to. But we also don't necessarily need to do that because we can open this script file right here in a editor that's exactly like the one I just showed you, and we can edit it, save it, and then right here we can submit it. This badge right here will show the status of the job. This is going to run for a few more seconds because that's what's relevant on this page. But if we want another place where we want to look at our jobs, we can go back to our dashboard to this active jobs tab, which will show us all of the jobs run on all clusters of your system. You can filter them by cluster. You can filter them by whether they're your jobs or not. So the next piece of the app that we're going to be looking at are interactive apps. These are one of the main features of Open OnDemand. They provide users with a click-through interface to some of the most popular applications in HPC. Whether you're working with software to create simulations to predict the weather or in need of a fully featured IDE, this is where the ease of access of Open OnDemand really shines. So next, we're going to launch a generic Linux desktop as well as an installation of Jupyter. So if we click here, we go to this form that allows us to choose a certain number of relevant factors to our job that we want to be able to launch. We don't need to choose an account because there is one by default already. This number of hours is an attribute, for example, that allows you to specify how long the job will run. So when we launch this, we're redirected to a page called My Interactive Sessions. And here we see this card, which shows us the state of our job. And eventually we're in this state where we have the computer running on the compute node. Excuse me. So if we launch this, we are able to interact with this Linux desktop just as if it were a desktop you were accessing in a library or a computer center anywhere. And it's completely functional within the browser. So the next thing we're going to look at is doing essentially the same thing with Jupyter, where we go to this form, we click launch, we see our card. A thing to note about this card is that it has these extra attributes listed here. These can be modified and selected and chosen by administrators and app developers as metadata for the app. And then in just a couple of seconds, this will start running. And before we actually connect to Jupyter, I want to take a look at this line that says host. This connects us in a new tab to a shell session that is connected to the host. So here we can take a look at all of our processes running on the system, for example. And then we can also, just like with the desktop, connect to Jupyter and launch into a Jupyter notebook. So the last feature we're going to be looking at today is also the newest one, which was introduced in 3.0, which is profiles. Profiles are a way to change the look and feel of an Open OnDemand installation. So we can choose this chemistry profile, which has been added by an administrator. And you'll notice the first thing is that this navigation bar has changed. It's lost some links. We no longer have access to the Linux desktop up here we only have the Jupyter Notebook. We are missing some links from over here. And then on this page, the panels that are in use are different from the panels that were in use in the default profile. So you can always switch back to the default profile from here. But it cleans up the area a little more and allows you to gear it towards specific use cases, such as a student in a chemistry class. The last thing you'll notice up here is this chemistry notes, which takes us to an entirely custom page. Excuse me. An entirely custom page that can be used to provide extra content and functionality. A really common example of this would be documentation. So that is the end of our dashboard walkthrough and the major features. I will leave these links up for a couple of seconds while my colleague Emily is preparing to present her next.
Thank you, Hazel. All right, so I wanted to talk about just a few things today, engaging with the project. Firstly is reaching us, secondly is staying up to date on what we're doing, and thirdly is getting involved. Okay, so reaching us. The first main way to do this is in discourse. So if you have any questions about on-demand or if you're running into any problems with your own instance, please do not hesitate to post anything in discourse. As Julie mentioned, that is a great way that we interact with our community and are alerted to maybe different bugs and features, questions, and feedback that you may all have. Our developers and community members are monitoring this daily in business hours, and we are ready to jump in and provide any assistance we can. The second way also is with opening an issue in our main repository. So we are actually moving our feature requests and bug notices from Discourse to GitHub. And this can be done by opening an issue in on-demand repository, which I'll mention a little bit later. But as you can see here on our main Discourse page, this will be eventually going away. So find more on our GitHub page there. So that's reaching us. Secondly is staying up to date on what we are currently working on. So going back to Discourse, we have on our homepage, as you can see, this announcement section. And this is used to alert our community about any of our tips and tricks calls coming up. If we are releasing any of our new code, or if we have things in the community as well. And really, I do recommend signing up for our newsletter, as Julie mentioned earlier. That is really the best way to stay involved, but we also highly utilize this page as well in staying up to date. Additionally, in staying up to date with what we are doing is with our main repository on demand in GitHub, like I mentioned a little bit earlier. And a few ways to stay up to date on what we're doing here is through our issues. So our issues are public, and it is a live snapshot of what we are currently working on. So feel free to come through all our issues and even closed issues to understand what we worked on before. In projects, as circled in this shot here, this is a project roadmap view of a few of the major things that we're working on and upcoming releases that we're really excited about. And then thirdly, in our milestones is a very live snapshot of things that we hope to accomplish in our next release and what we're currently working on in our current release. So GitHub is definitely one of the best ways to stay up to date on what we are doing. Lastly, I want to talk about getting involved. And really what we love to encourage is contributing to on-demand. We want our community to be a part of our development. That's what makes it so amazing to be open source and be highly involved in our community. And we've tried to do this and set it up in a way that's really easy to find. And so we have created a label in our GitHub repo called Good First Issue that are easier, simpler items for our community to grab, especially if you're first developing with us. These issues have either been submitted by our own team members or the folks in the community. So a very high-level walkthrough on how to find these good first issues is in this illustration. So you can go to our on-demand repository, navigate to issues in the top corner, navigate to labels, and then search good first issue in our labels, whether going through the different pages of labels or just searching it in the search bar above. And so there you can find, we have several, in fact, we have a lot of really great issues for us that we would love for you to develop. So this is just an easy way to find, and again, you can see the link below on a link right to our main repository. And if you're interested in contributing or have maybe specific questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to myself or Julie. We would be happy to connect you with developer or happy to answer any questions or concerns you have with that. So that is all that we have today. Here are our emails, again, if you want to get connected directly to us, and we will be happy to discuss more.
Thank you again for joining us, and we hope to hear from you soon. And have a great day.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Yeah.
Hello.
So thank you for the nice presentation that you and team make. So I don't know if we have some question from the audience. Yes, you have one.
Thank you for your presentation, Julie. I have a question regarding session suspension. Have you considered already, or is it in the roadmap, to support suspending sessions on Open OnDemand and resuming the sessions later on, right? So one of the issues that we have, for instance, with Jupyter is that users will start the Jupyter notebook in the morning, then whenever they finish their day, the Jupyter notebook will continue running, right? Because they don't want to close it because it takes a lot of effort for setting up the Jupyter or running some of these cells in Jupyter. It requires a lot of time. So have you considered supporting this suspension and resuming of sessions in Open?
That's a great question. I cannot answer that. I'm not sure if Hazel can. Hazel, my colleague, is also on the panel right now. So I'll direct the question to Hazel, but if neither of us can answer it, I would request that you post that on our discourse site that Emily mentioned in the presentation. That site is monitored by our developers through during business hours in the United States, and they would be able to give you an accurate answer to that question. I don't want to venture a guess.
That is not a ticket that I have seen in our GitHub issues. I would definitely encourage any community activity on that to bring it to our attention, because I absolutely experience that with my own day-to-day work as well.
Okay, thank you. So I will definitely raise it in discourse. Thank you.
Please post it on our Discord. Yeah, if you didn't catch it from the slide before, I believe we can drop it in the chat just so that you have the link to go there directly.
Any other question from the audience? You have?
Yeah, so there's one more question. So over the last 2 days, we have been talking about a special community, a growing community, in particular artificial intelligence, that is representing a kind of a growing need to have an easier platform. Open OnDemand really meets all those requirements, and it's really nice to see that new AI applications are getting integrated into Open OnDemand. So I believe that the next talk is going to talk about also about this topic as well, about the work and contributions from HPC Now into Open OnDemand in this regard. But I was wondering if you have visibility on other people also incorporating new AI tools into Open OnDemand.
So this is a very hot topic right now. It's, as you know, I think certainly, I think worldwide, but certainly in the United States, there's a great deal of focus on this. And the Open OnDemand team is looking to pull the community of people that are developing interesting AI applications together into what we're calling an affinity group to help us with one, doing a survey of what people are doing and what is working really well, and then basically publishing some reference models so people don't have to reinvent the wheel. This is a very hot topic for us right now, and we would love to talk to you more and have you be a part of that discussion if that would be of interest to you. This is something, it's of great interest in the United States. There's a pilot going on that's being basically sponsored from the highest levels of government and managed by the National Science Foundation, called the NARE Initiative, and that is trying to find resources that and make those available for AI researchers, and OnDemand is certainly trying to be a big part of that.
Any other question from the audience? If not, let's thanks to Julie and the team.
Thank you very much.